Welcome to the Monitoring and Evaluation M&E Coaching Series, a space I've designed to make M&E simple and practical for my followers and for all the individuals I coach, both in person and virtually. I'm your host, Coach Joe. If you're joining us for the very first time, I encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I regularly share content on monitoring and evaluation, research and data analysis, and subscribing will ensure you never miss out. Before we get into today's topic, how to develop an M&E framework, let me take a moment to introduce myself to new viewers. I've worked in this field for over 10 years, and it has been a truly rewarding journey. I'd like you to be part of this journey as well, because there is so much to learn and appreciate about monitoring and evaluation. Very soon, we'll also be launching a members club. This space will focus entirely on many research and data analysis, and will include practical resources such as data analysis codes for R, Stata, Python, and SAS. I'd love to hear from you. Please share in the comments what you'd like us to include in the Members Club or cover here on the channel. Now, before diving into M&E frameworks, let's clear up a common source of confusion: the difference between an M&E system, an M&E plan, and an M&E framework. These are not the same thing. The M&E system is the broadest structure. It encompasses everything related to monitoring and evaluation in an organization. The M&E plan sits under the system. The M&E framework sits under the plan. The framework is not the system itself. Instead, it provides a summary, an overview of how the system works. Like any system, it is made up of components, and these components define what the framework looks like. So what does a typical framework include? Generally, it's laid out in a table or template. At the top, you'll find key elements such as the indicator, its definition, the baseline, targets, data sources, frequency of measurement, and the person responsible. Below that, you'll see the project's goals, outcomes, and outputs. Of course, frameworks may look slightly different depending on how an organization chooses to design them, but certain elements almost always appear: the baseline, target, data source, frequency, and responsible person. The definition field may or may not be included, since indicator definitions are usually captured in the indicator reference sheet. So how do you actually go about developing an M&E framework? The starting point is the logical framework matrix. This is your foundation. As M&E professionals, our work really hinges on identifying and tracking the right indicators. Once you know your indicators, you can then map them against the framework. To make this practical, I'll walk you through an example step by step using a simple word template. The structure is already there. You'll see the goals, outcomes, outputs, and all the required indicator details. From there, it's just a matter of populating the framework with the relevant information. That's how you begin to build a monitoring and evaluation framework, systematically using the logical framework as your base, and then filling in the essential components that make it functional and practical. I've deliberately introduced the log frame here so that we can use it as a point of reference. Initially, I thought I had an actual logical framework from a project, but it turns out what I had was more of a guiding template. That's all right though, because we can build one ourselves. Let's work through an example together. Imagine we are running a project called the Poverty Reduction Project. The overall aim of this project is to reduce poverty levels within rural communities in a specific location. One of the mechanisms for achieving this is by empowering farmers, helping them to increase crop production and as a result improve their income levels. At the goal or impact level, the key indicator might be percentage of farmers living in poverty. To go deeper, we can identify additional indicators that measure progress. For example, average income earned by farmers in USD, crop production levels, e.g., tons of maize per hectare. These indicators help us capture both income and productivity, which are central to poverty reduction through agricultural empowerment. Once the indicators are identified, the next step is to define them clearly. For instance, percentage of farmers living in poverty can be defined as the proportion of farmers living on less than $2 a day. Average income earned by farmers, USD, refers to the total earnings generated by farmers, male and female, within a given time period, expressed in US dollars. By structuring it this way, we ensure that the framework is not only measurable, but also clear to anyone who uses it. Now let's take this further by working through the example step by step. For the crop production levels indicator, we can define it as the total amount of produce generated, measured in kilograms or tons. With that in mind, the next step is to establish the baseline. Suppose our project runs from 2024 to 2029. That means the baseline year is 2024. Let's assume that a baseline survey was conducted that year, and here are the findings. Percentage of farmers living in poverty, 2024 baseline, 45%. Average annual income earned by farmers, 2024 baseline, $200. Crop production levels, 2024 baseline, 1,000 tons. From here, we set our targets for 2029. Reduce the percentage of farmers living in poverty to 25%, a 20% reduction. Increase the average annual income of farmers to $2,500. Raise total crop production to 5,000 tons. The next question is, how will we measure progress? Data collection could be done through structured questionnaires administered directly to farmers, either during interviews or surveys. For production and income data, this can be measured annually since farmers generally harvest crops on a yearly cycle. However, for crops that generate income quarterly, data collection can also be done on a quarterly basis. Who is responsible? Typically, the M&E officers will lead this process. They will then report their findings either to the M&E manager, if one exists, or directly to the project coordinator, depending on the organization's structure. As you can see, I've now populated an entire M&E framework using this example. In real life, the process takes much longer because it requires consultations and stakeholder involvement. That is usually where most of the time is spent, ensuring that everyone agrees on the indicators, baselines, and targets. I hope you found this walkthrough useful and engaging. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments section or reach me on Telegram. The link is available in the channel description. I'll do my best to respond. Thank you for joining me. I'm Coach Joe, and I look forward to seeing you in the next learning series. Stay tuned, and bye for now.